In the summer of 2020, we Belarusians rebel against Lukashenko's dictatorial regime. We were tired of lies, corruption, tyranny, and other vices of the system. Hundreds of thousands of bright, energetic, determined citizens united for all that is good against all that is bad. We demanded the release of political prisoners and new fair elections. A series of systematic mistakes prevented us from completing the work we have started. We do not have the moral right to give up, to stop and wait. It is necessary to learn from our mistakes and achieve the liberation of our native Belarus from the dictatorship, as well as from the constant threats coming from the regime of Lukashenko, including of terrorist nature. Democratic institutions have been destroyed in the country. The people are deprived of the right to elect the government. In 2020, the technical protest candidate became the embodiment of the people's will for the change. The society supported the unification of the opposition. Everyone saw this as an opportunity to get rid of the dictator and to support their own candidate. By voting for Svetlana Tikhanovskaya, we hoped for new elections. After August 2020, the United Democratic Forces team, which had ensured Lukashenko's defeat in the presidential elections, was disbanded, and the political agenda was determined by people who were not involved in the events of 2020. The team of the United Headquarters was removed from further interaction with the protest candidate Svetlana Tikhanovskaya. There was a substitution of notions. This didn't allow to ensure the achievement of the main objectives: the release of political prisoners, the departure of the dictator, and the new elections. After August 2020, two models were imposed on society: Lukashenko's or Tikhanovskaya's. This sharply narrowed the social base of supporters of change, who stopped seeing their leaders in this arrangement. After August 2020, the country faced the most widespread repression in history. More than 1,600 political prisoners are behind the bars. About 900 people were recognized as terrorists by the Lukashenko's junta, and Belarus now is ranked as one of the first in the world on this indicator. We are faced with mass immigration for political reasons. Hundreds of thousands of citizens cannot return home. Raiding of businesses continue. The country is subjected to sanctions and the population is impoverished. All non-profit organizations and major media outlets have been destroyed, and independent trade unions have been eliminated. The regime has become a threat to regional security, provoking a migration crisis and dragging Belarus into a war against Ukraine. Many people have become disillusioned, lost hope, and retreated into their own problems. There is a decline of interest in Svetlana Tikhanovskaya and other politicians in the media. This is an objective process, associated with the absence of public policy in the country and apathy in society. We have not achieved results in 2 years. The decrease in interest is happening not only in the activities of Svetlana Tikhanovskaya, but also in the media, which cover her agenda to a greater extent. The decline in trust, the negative result, and the absence of a solution to the real problems of Belarusians on the agenda cause a general decline in interest, which is also reflected in the involvement in the activities of human rights organizations and organizations to help political prisoners. The key problems are the lack of legitimacy, trust, and support. There is also no official recognition at the international level. Recently, there have been proposals to reformat the Coordination Council. This structure appeared in August 2020 as an initiative of concerned citizens who expressed a desire to contribute to overcoming the political crisis. In 2 years, the Coordination Council has failed to fulfill its stated goals. and many of its members have been arrested. The Coordination Council is not an elected body. Attempts to reform it will not lead to significant changes. For 2 years, Lukashenko has been strengthening his power. Disappointment arose in the society. Segmentation took place within the democratic movement. The 2020 elections are not recognized by the international community. The civilized world did not recognize anyone as president. The unity of the democratic movement as a true threat to a dictatorial regime, enjoying the popularity and support of the people, has been destroyed. We cannot solve our problems with the same level of thinking that created them, a phrase attributed to Albert Einstein. One must rise above the problem by rising to the next level. Solving a problem requires an analysis of it, a re-examination of the conditions, an outsider's view on the situation, a change in the baseline, strategy, and tactics. This works in the exact science, mathematics, physics, chemistry. In business and sports, they ask for results. In civilized countries, politicians answer to the voters for their failures. The results are reflected during the elections. That is why we propose that the people of Belarus should get back the right to elect and switch to a parliamentary model of democracy. One person, a leader, a politician, is always vulnerable. Collective responsibility allows more resources to be brought to achieve goals. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights states, "Everyone has the right to take part in the government of his country, directly or through freely chosen representatives. Everyone has the right to equal access to public service in his country. The will of the people shall be the basis of the authority of government. This will shall be expressed in periodic and genuine elections, which shall be by universal and equal suffrage, and shall be held by secret vote or by equivalent free voting procedures." We propose a reformatting of the model of opposition to the Lukashenko regime in order to unite society as much as possible through the creation of an electoral body. This will consolidate the efforts of all political forces and citizens for a speedy resolution of the political crisis in Belarus. Each of us will bear responsibility instead of shifting it to other people and waiting for a miracle. Dictator Lukashenko is most afraid of the elections. He has deprived Belarusians of the right to elect. We propose to elect by direct vote the National Council of the Republic of Belarus, which will be the supreme representative and legislative body of the people of Belarus during the illegitimate retention of power by the regime in the Republic of Belarus, as well as during the transitional period. International law declares the right of the people to freely determine their political status and pursue their economic, social, and cultural development. Many countries have gone through political crises. There were examples of governments in exile. As a rule, they were always representative bodies elected by the people, which allowed for international recognition. The National Council worked in the transition period after the defeat of the fascist regime in Italy from 1945 to 1946. Since 1959, the parliament of the Central Tibetan administration was functioning. The main objectives of the National Council of the Republic of Belarus are creating conditions for the restoration of law and order in the Republic of Belarus, building a legal, democratic parliamentary state, to restore full sovereignty of the Republic of Belarus and eliminate threats to the world community, to represent the interests of the people of the Republic of Belarus in the absence of a legitimately elected government. It is proposed to divide the tasks of the National Council into 2 stages: before the regime overthrow and for the transition period. The primary tasks are re-establishing the rule of law in Belarus, expanding international support and solidarity with the people of Belarus, consolidating efforts to fight the terrorist regime of Lukashenko, developing a temporary legislative framework to support the governmental system during the transition period, as well as organizing free democratic elections in Belarus, negotiations with democratic officials to support the people of Belarus in their just struggle against a terrorist regime, which poses a real threat to individual countries and the European community as a whole. To consolidate and coordinate all efforts of democratic forces within and outside the Republic of Belarus in order to use any legal means and forms of action to create conditions to overthrow the dictatorial regime. Preparation of a blueprint for the reform of the national security system and comprehensive preparation for the organization and effective functioning of all components of the national security system during the transition period. During the transition period, the National Council will be responsible for organizing the work of the provisional state and local authorities in the Republic of Belarus, ensuring the security of the country and its citizens, and organizing free and democratic elections of government authorities, with the obligatory participation of the independent international observers. The National Council is to be elected for 2 years from among citizens of the Republic of Belarus. Optimal number of members is suggested up to 45 people. The proposed key committees are as follows: Development of civil society and constitutional reform, national security, economics and finance, international affairs, human rights, release and rehabilitation of political prisoners, others as required. The election of a People's Parliament with the support of the international community and the observance of electoral procedures will open the door to the recognition of this body as the only legitimate representation of the people of Belarus. Maximum transparency must be observed in the preparation and conduct of the elections. Citizens will be involved in the process of preparing and participating in the elections. Experts and international observers will be involved in the preparation and conduct of the elections in order to certify the process itself and the criteria to verify validity of the elections. The voting procedure and the platform used will be chosen on the basis of criteria of international recognition and independence. It is important that with the election of the People's Parliament, every citizen of Belarus will be able to participate in discussions and decision-making regardless of their place of residence. Citizens will be able to submit their initiatives and bills for consideration. All sessions will be broadcast live, and each elected council member will report to his or her constituents. Society must rid itself of the legacy of Lukashism and chieftainism. Unification is possible around principles, not personalities. Pluralism of opinion, freedom of speech, transparency and openness, mutual respect and legality are the very basic principles of the democratic movement. The electoral procedure means the involvement of all interested citizens, the appointment of elections, the creation of an electoral commission, the invitation of international observers, the nomination and registration of candidates, a media campaign, voting on an independent platform, and the tabulation of results. Each step requires discussion and approval of an action plan. Step by step, we will all work together towards a result that is acceptable to the majority. The support of the international community, the European Union, OSCE and European Parliament is vital for the realization of this strategy. Necessary resources and support should be acquired. Support of international organizations, governments, companies and citizens to conduct elections based on the international standards. Choosing an independent, trusted platform for online elections. Involvement of international observers and experts for consultations and subsequent independent assessment of the past elections. Recognition based on the results of the elections of the National Council as a legitimate body representing the interests of the people of Belarus. Resources for the functioning of the National Council, which will be formed in the elections. Why should we postpone applying best practices in building the future of Belarus if we can start doing it now? We invite interested citizens of Belarus to join the group for development of the procedure of preparation, organization and holding of the election campaign, as well as formation of election commissions on all levels. Only the one who does nothing makes no mistakes. Do not be afraid of making mistakes. Be afraid of repeating them. We invite you to an open dialogue and discussion on the proposed strategy. Thank you. We look forward to your active participation in the discussions. Forum of Democratic Forces of Belarus. info@belarusforum.org